Now it has a little bit of good movement on it, but I'm going to cut it off. And now that whole branch is gone. So again, you can now see the trunk slightly more going both right and left now, just ever so slightly. And again, if I stopped right now and you all left and we took this tree home, it's fine. It'll be good. It'll survive. We'll get new growth on here, and we'll see what we want to cut next time. But I'm still going to thin it out a little bit more. So, one of the things we try to do is we try to have asymmetry. We don't want to have a perfect square, we don't want to have a perfect lollipop, we don't want to have a perfect triangle, but we do want to have that conical shape. We want to have a tree that kind of looks like most pine trees, most, not all. There's exceptions to every rule. But most shapes we're looking for does kind of have a conical shape. So it'll be some kind of triangular shape, even if it's like a triangle like this, and it goes more that way. It's still kind of a triangle, whether it's a obtuse, an isosceles, something different than a perfect right triangle. So this tree does have two main branches, it splits off, and this one is almost as thick as that one. So as it's split into a Y, which isn't overly attractive in bonsai, kind of, but it's such a big branch going left, and this one comes right. We're going to leave it alone for now. You'll notice that there is this little tiny branch right here, and here's the conundrum we're in right now. If this is a primary branch, it's so very skinny. And that makes this one, what's this one? That's just more the trunk still. So if this one's so skinny, it's kind of like the back one too. This back one's skinny, but I like to leave it in the back because it's adding some texture to the tree. But this one, I probably can cut off. And again, I can see that path of that trunk a little bit more. But I'll leave it for the moment. So I've made a few cuts so you can see the trunk of this tree. You can see kind of some of the design that we might have in the future. And I'm still going to keep plugging away. This is such a thick tree, and if I don't thin this out right now and open up these pockets in here, the sun will have a really hard time keeping the branches deep down alive. And we want to keep some of this alive to, again, for future growth, to see what this tree is going to turn into someday. And you can cut it again pretty drastically if you have some skill, and you know you're going to have good aftercare. You have a good place for it, you know how to feed it, you know how to water it, you're going to be home all summer. I'm a teacher by day, so summer vacation starts for me in about 4 weeks, and then I can really pay attention to my trees. Not everybody can do that. So then you have to get the neighbor kids over there and try to keep your trees alive. Make sure you don't forget to water them, because they will have a tough time. It's kind of like a pet, or kind of like a child. You can't go too many days without paying attention to them, and something's going to happen that's getting bad. So I keep thinning it out. So if you're a little bit closer, you can see there's a little bit more pockets in here for the sun to get through, and I'm just going to keep plucking away and seeing if we can get more of that trunk exposed, because there's a lot of little things just kind of sticking up in places here that don't make sense. They're curling back towards the tree. They're blocking our view in some cases. As I continue to do that, ask away. Is there any questions anybody has as I start to putz a little bit more on this one? When you've seen bonsai, the ones you've seen out there, if you haven't seen them already, go check them out next. Do not leave without seeing those beautiful trees out there. But are there any questions that some of you have about bonsai, about what I'm doing right now, about the trees in general? Any questions, just let me know. I'll be glad to do my best to answer them.
I have a question.
Yep.
Concerning the pot itself.
Yeah.
Should it be clay or should it be plastic?
Yeah, so this is a plastic pot. That's not desirable long term. You want a pot that can breathe. So yeah, some of the ceramics, and there's a really popular style of bonsai training pots now, and again, it's something that kind of has stemmed from Japan. It's a terracotta style pot, but it has a painted glazed rim. And so the rim up top that's glazed holds more moisture up on top, but it dries it out a little bit lower down below. And we want a lot of our moisture in our bonsai pots to be in that higher top layer, because we want all those roots up there to form fine feeder roots, the roots we want for the future of the tree. We don't care about the roots that go down really deep. We usually cut tap roots out. But anything can work. And now bonsai's opened up so much, and it's gotten so relaxed, which is nice, because it was pretty traditional, and you can only do certain things. But again, like anything in this world, this is an art form, so it's kind of that whole beauty in the eye of the beholder thing. If you got a really cool pot that someone made out of cement, there's some really cool cement pots. But any of the pottery out there, the biggest thing you have to be careful of is in Minnesota, we wanted it to make sure it's going to survive a Minnesota winter. If you keep your tree outside, which most trees, the trees like this juniper should be outside in the wintertime. It should go dormant. It should rest. If you bring this tree, if you buy a tree here at Como or any nursery that's a juniper tree, you get one at Home Depot, you get one at Menards, wherever you get a juniper tree, those trees need to go to sleep in the wintertime. So you have to make sure that you do that. So if you do keep pots outside, you want them to be Minnesota hardy, which means they're fired at a really high rate, so it's really, really hard clay, and won't chip and break as easily as the other kind of pots. But almost anything will work. The biggest thing with pots is we have to have a lot of drainage holes so the water can drain right through. So again, we control how long it's wet, how much water it does get in the beginning. So I'm not going to put any wire on this tree at all because the branches are just too skinny. Everything on here except for the main two trunks here now that splits to the right and left and a couple of other division points. There's not a whole lot I can do. The only thing I might be able to do is I have one branch right here that could make this tree start to look like it's more that triangle shape by bringing this up here. And then I almost had that triangle shape. See, I lost the round flat look and I gave it this kind of triangle look. I've got that angle here and that angle here. This one could be possibly wired up to here. I don't know if I'm going to do that today on this one again because we're putting a lot of stress on the tree and I don't want to stress it out. I'm going to cut the tip of this one growing down here just because it's going up into the other bushy part of this tree. So, from where I started, I still have a lot of foliage. So look at the difference between mine and Brent that did this earlier. It's a drastically different tree.